Have you ever stopped to think about why a man can spend all day online liking photos, commenting on videos, laughing at jokes, but when it comes to replying to your message, it seems like his phone has disappeared? You send 1, 2, 3 messages and nothing. Time passes, you check again, the seen notification is still there, but the reply never comes. What's going on? Is he playing with your feelings? Does he really not care? Or is there something deeper hidden in the male mind that explains this behavior? The truth is, when a man stops responding to your messages, it's never by chance. There's always a reason, even if it seems strange or even cruel. And behind that silence, there are only 2 psychological secrets that explain why he's not responding to you. Not 10, not 5, not several confusing reasons, just 2. But these 2 secrets are powerful enough to completely change the way you understand his actions. And here's the most important detail. Often, what seems like rejection is not rejection. What seems like coldness is not coldness. And what seems like a lack of interest may actually be a sign that you are touching parts of his mind that even he cannot control. It's as if his head is divided between 2 worlds, what he feels and what he shows. And this internal conflict appears precisely in the silence, in the delay, in that famous "I'll reply later" that ends up turning into hours, days, and even weeks. Now imagine if you could understand exactly what goes through a man's mind in those moments. If, instead of suffering, waiting and feeling bad, you could see clearly what is happening. If, instead of asking yourself, "What did I do wrong?" you were sure that it's not about a mistake, but about how the mind works. This is the kind of knowledge that can free you from anxiety, endless waiting, and that feeling that you always have to chase after him. A man who takes a long time to respond is not necessarily a man who doesn't like you, and a man who responds quickly is not necessarily the one who values you the most. It all depends on the triggers you awaken in him and how he reacts to those triggers. That's why, throughout this video, you'll discover the 2 psychological secrets that explain his silence. 2 secrets that, when revealed, make you understand why he acts this way and, most importantly, how you can turn this game to your advantage. But before revealing these secrets, I want you to think about something simple. Why does this behavior bother you so much? Why does the lack of response affect you so much? The answer is linked to something we all have in common, men and women, which is the need to be accepted and recognized. When someone we care about doesn't respond, the brain understands this as rejection, and rejection hurts. That's why you keep looking at your phone, refreshing the screen, feeling that mixture of anger and sadness. But understanding your reaction is only the first step. The next is to understand his reaction. If you stay with me until the end, you'll realize that the male mind isn't as complicated as it seems. In fact, it works with simple but very strong patterns. Patterns that, when understood, completely change the way you interpret signals. And that's exactly why I made this video. To show you the 2 secrets that explain his silence and how you can use this knowledge to regain your peace, your confidence, and even control of the situation. So if you're currently experiencing this situation, waiting for a response that never comes, wondering what he's doing, feeling like you're on the back burner, take a deep breath. None of this is by chance. There's an explanation, and I'm going to show you step by step what it is. I want you to imagine the following scene. A woman named Anna meets a guy at work. They start talking. The eye contact is intense. The chemistry is clear. He gets her number, and on the same day, sends her a message. They talk late into the night, laugh, tell stories from their childhood. Anna goes to sleep with that good feeling that something special is beginning. The next day, she wakes up, picks up her phone, and sends a simple "good morning." What happens? Silence. Time passes and nothing. The hours feel like days. Her heart races with every notification, but none of them are from him. Anna thinks, did I say something wrong? Did he lose interest overnight? Does this scene seem familiar? I bet it does. Maybe not with the same details, but with the same feeling. The anxiety of waiting, the tightness in your chest, your mind creating various stories to justify the silence. And often, this doesn't just happen at the beginning of a relationship, but also after months or even years. It's the wife who sends her husband a message and he only replies hours later, even though he's online. It's the girlfriend who asks a simple question and sees the answer arrive only at the end of the day, when it no longer makes sense. It's the woman who is meeting someone new and realizes that this ignoring has become routine. The most curious thing is that in all these cases, the pattern is the same. The lack of response generates insecurity, and insecurity generates assumptions. The female mind begins to look for hidden signs in every detail. Did he take so long because he's busy? Or did he take so long because he's not interested? And every minute of waiting seems to confirm the worst idea. That's the cruel part. Silence says nothing but screams everything inside your head. Now think about the other side. What happens inside the male mind at that very moment? For that, let's use Lucas's example. He's on the bus, coming home after a tiring day at work. His cell phone vibrates. It's a message from his girlfriend. He looks at it, reads it, thinks about replying, but something inside him makes him put his cell phone back in his pocket. Not because he doesn't like her, not because he wants to ignore her on purpose, but because there is an almost automatic impulse to postpone the response. He thinks, I'll respond later when I'm calm, but later turns into 2 hours, then 4, and before he knows it, it's dawn. His girlfriend is already irritated, sad, and his silence has created a storm of emotions he never imagined. This "I'll respond later" is one of the most common behaviors in the male mind, and it's not just linked to laziness or disinterest. Often it's linked to psychological triggers that men themselves don't understand. Triggers that cause them to associate responding quickly with a loss of control. It's as if, for him, responding immediately is a sign of weakness, of exposure. It's an unconscious thought, but one that guides his actions. And this is exactly where the two psychological secrets begin to appear. But before revealing them, it's important that you understand the impact this has on the balance of power within the relationship, because every time he takes a long time to respond, the feeling of control shifts to the other side. Without even realizing it, he starts to set the pace of the conversation, and you, on the other side, feel trapped by his timing. It's as if your emotions are being controlled by his decision to type or not type a simple response. To make it even clearer, think about Camilla. She was chatting with a man she met on a dating app. At first, everything was perfect. Quick replies, long conversations, affectionate emojis. But suddenly, the dynamic changed. He started taking longer to respond, replying with short sentences and sometimes simply not replying at all. Camilla, who had previously felt secure, began to doubt herself. She started rereading all the messages, trying to understand if she had said something wrong. She even thought about sending another message to force a response, but each attempt only increased the silence. She didn't know it, but she was caught in one of the most common games of the male mind, testing how far she would go to get attention. These stories are not exceptions. They are the rule. Most women have experienced similar situations, and if you're here, you've probably also felt the pain of waiting for a response that never came. But the good news is that this has nothing to do with your lack of value. It's not because you're not interesting, beautiful, or intelligent. It's because there are mechanisms of the mind that guide the way men act. And when you understand these mechanisms, you stop blaming yourself and start to see clearly what is really happening. In the next few minutes, I'm going to open this hidden vault of the male mind and show you the 2 secrets that explain why he ignores your messages. Secrets that, when revealed, make you understand that his silence was never about you. It was always about him. By now, you have realized the pain of silence and how it affects the emotion within any relationship. Now it's time to get to the point. The behavior of a man who ignores your messages is not a mystery impossible to understand. It can be explained by just 2 secrets of the mind, 2 patterns that repeat themselves, whether in new or old relationships, in insecure or confident men. Let's unlock this now. The first secret has to do with something universal, the need to feel in control. From an early age, men learn that being in charge is a sign of strength. This shows up in simple things. Who chooses the meeting place? Who decides when to call? Who takes the next step? And messages are part of this invisible power game. When a man takes a long time to respond, it's often not because he forgot or lost interest. It's because, without realizing it, he feels that if he responds quickly, he'll be giving up that control. He thinks, if I respond right away, I'll show that I'm too available. If I wait, I'll show that I'm the one who sets the pace. He doesn't say this out loud, nor does he plan it, but his mind understands it that way. It's like an emotional chess game. Each message is a move. If he responds quickly, he feels like he's defending. If he takes his time, he feels like he's attacking, setting the pace. This mechanism gives him a false sense of power, and that's what fuels the silence. The most interesting thing is that this doesn't just happen with women he's just met. It can even happen in long-term marriages. A husband may take a long time to respond to his wife because, without realizing it, he associates speed with weakness, and by delaying, he feels he is reinforcing his position. It's a quiet game, but a real one. And here's the key point. When you understand that the delay in response has nothing to do with your value, but with how he tries to maintain control, you take a huge weight off your shoulders. You stop thinking, "I'm not good enough," and start thinking, "He's trying to show power." This change in perspective changes everything. The second secret is the opposite of the first, but just as powerful. On one hand, there is the desire to control. On the other, there is the fear of showing weakness. The male mind carries a great fear of exposing itself, of appearing weak, of showing feelings too soon. This is because, from childhood, many men learn to hide their emotions. Crying is criticized, sensitivity is a source of jokes, and being strong is seen as not showing weakness. So when he receives your message, even if he likes you, a trigger appears. If I respond quickly, she'll notice that I'm too interested. This fear is not about you, it's about him. He fears losing the image of independence he has created. He fears that you will see an immediate response as a sign of emotional dependence. So the solution the mind finds is simple: postpone, and that postponing turns into the famous ignoring. This secret shows why so many men seem contradictory. They may like you, they may miss you, they may want to be close to you, but even so, they choose silence because they believe it protects them from appearing vulnerable. The paradox is harsh. Just when you seek closeness, he creates distance, and all because of fear. Now imagine these two secrets happening together. On the one hand, the search for power. On the other, the fear of exposing oneself. This is the heart of the male mind in many relationships. Men feel they need to maintain control, but at the same time, they are afraid of revealing too much. The result? Silence, delays, unanswered messages. When he doesn't respond, he feels he is balancing both sides. He maintains control and avoids appearing fragile. But to you, this sounds like coldness, neglect, disinterest. The difference in perception is enormous, and it is precisely this that creates so much conflict. It is important to understand that these two secrets are not excuses for behavior, but explanations. Knowing this does not mean accepting everything quietly. It means that from now on you have clarity. You know that the problem is not with you. It's not because you're not interesting. It's not because you said something wrong. It's because he's caught between two impulses of the mind: to maintain power and to avoid weakness. This knowledge is liberating, because by understanding this, you can choose how to react. You can decide whether to play his game or walk away from it. You can realize that the delay in response is not about you, but about him. And when you change your interpretation, you change the whole dynamic. Think of Marina. She was dating a guy who took hours to respond. Before, she would get distressed, cry, and think about insisting. After understanding these secrets, she changed her attitude. Instead of waiting and suffering, she went on with her life as usual. When his response arrived, she didn't rush to reply immediately. Over time, he realized he had lost control of the pace. And guess what? He started responding faster. Why? Because he saw that the power had shifted. This example shows that when you understand the secrets of the male mind, you don't have to beg for attention. You become the one who sets the pace. And that's what balances the emotional scales. Now that you understand the two secrets of the mind that explain why a man ignores your messages, it's time to talk about something even more serious: the risk of not seeing this behavior for what it really is. Because it's not enough to just know the reason. You have to act. If you don't understand this dynamic, you run the risk of falling into emotional traps that can destroy your confidence, your energy, and even your ability to relate in a healthy way. Think for a moment about all the times you waited for a response that never came. All those sleepless nights, staring at your phone screen, refreshing the conversation, trying to imagine what he was doing. Every minute of waiting is not just time passing. It's a piece of your peace of mind slipping away. And the problem is that the more this happens, the more you start to believe that it's your fault. It's like a drop that always falls in the same place. Over time, it opens a hole. Many women start out secure and confident, but after months or years of dealing with this kind of behavior, they end up becoming anxious, full of doubts, dependent on attention. That's how his silence becomes a hidden trap. He doesn't have to say anything for you to start believing that you're not good enough. And that's the cruelest part. When you believe this lie, you start acting as if it were true. The human mind has a natural need to close cycles. When you ask a question, you expect an answer. When you send a message, you expect a reply. When that doesn't happen, the brain understands it as a threat. Uncertainty is uncomfortable, and the body reacts with anxiety. Your heart races, your breathing becomes shallow, your stomach tightens. It's not just emotional, it's physical. And the more this repeats itself, the more your body and mind get used to living on alert. This constant state of waiting has an invisible price. You spend too much energy on something that doesn't depend on you. You stop paying attention to other areas of life, work, studies, friends, family, because you're mentally stuck on your cell phone. It's as if your happiness depends on 3 little words on the screen. Typing now. And if he doesn't type, your energy plummets. It's too high a price to pay for someone who is often just playing games to feel in control. This is where urgency comes in, because the longer you let this happen, the harder it is to break out of the cycle. The more you get used to waiting, the more normal it seems. And without realizing it, you adapt to a pattern of disrespect. You accept crumbs of attention as if they were banquets. You celebrate a cold response as if it were proof of love. This is not love, it is conditioning. And if you don't break this pattern now, you risk carrying it with you for the rest of your life. The man who ignores you today may be the same one who manipulates you tomorrow. The silence that today seems like mere neglect may become the silence that tomorrow controls your entire routine. That's why it's urgent to open your eyes. It's urgent to realize that this behavior is not harmless. It's urgent to decide that you will no longer live tied to someone else's response time. Many women think that if they don't complain, if they don't demand, things will improve on their own. They believe, he'll notice that he's hurting me and he'll change. But the truth is, when you remain silent, you reinforce the behavior. You show him that he can wait forever, and the longer you wait, the more he feels he is in control. His silence becomes power, and here's the key point. No one has the right to control your peace with silence. If you don't set limits, the game never ends. He'll keep taking his time because he knows you'll be there, waiting. That's why this video isn't just a reflection, it's a call to action. Don't wait for him to change on his own. Change needs to start with you. Accepting this behavior also deeply affects your self-esteem. Because when you accept being ignored, the message your brain receives is, my value depends on his attention. This creates a vicious cycle. The less he responds, the more you feel you need to try harder to get a response. You send more messages, try to please him, seek attention. But instead of working, it only reinforces his game. You lose your balance and start living according to what he does or doesn't do. This is the greatest danger. You cease to be the protagonist of your life and become a spectator of his actions. Your mood, your energy, your self-esteem are in the hands of someone who often doesn't even realize the damage he is causing. And this needs to end. When I talk about urgency, I don't mean acting out of desperation, sending lots of messages, or demanding quick responses. Urgency here means clarity. Clarity that your peace is worth more than any seen and unanswered message. Clarity that your self-esteem cannot be in someone else's hands. Clarity that if you don't take a stand now, the cycle will continue to repeat itself endlessly. Urgency is about you regaining control of your emotional life. It's about understanding that waiting forever for answers isn't romantic. It's exhausting. It's about deciding that, from today onwards, your happiness will not depend on how long it takes him to type a message. We have reached the end of this journey, and now you know the truth behind male silence. You have discovered that when a man ignores your messages, it is not just because he is busy or because he has stopped liking you. Most of the time, this happens because of 2 secrets that dominate his mind: the search for power and the fear of exposing himself. These 2 factors act as invisible forces that guide his behavior, even without him realizing it. The first secret, linked to power, shows that many men believe that controlling response time is a way to show strength. They feel that if they respond quickly, they lose space, they lose dominance. It's as if the delay is a silent weapon to prove that they are in charge. The second secret, linked to fear, shows that silence also acts as a defense. It is a way to avoid appearing vulnerable, to hide feelings, to maintain an image of independence. These are 2 different sides that together explain why silence is repeated so often. And here's the key point. None of this has anything to do with your worth. The fact that he doesn't respond doesn't mean you're not interesting, beautiful, intelligent, or worthy of love. It just means he's stuck in his own mind mechanisms. Silence says more about him than it does about you, And when you understand that, everything changes. You stop carrying the weight and start to see clearly. Now you also understand the risk of accepting this behavior without question, because constant silence destroys your self-esteem, steals your peace, and can make you emotionally hostage. And that's why urgency is so important. It's not about reacting with desperation. It's about acting with awareness. It's realizing that your life, your energy, and your happiness cannot depend on someone's willingness to type a few words. The big message here is simple and powerful. You don't have to beg for attention. His silence does not define who you are. You have the right to set boundaries, to demand respect, to walk away when you realize the game is not ending. You have the right not to accept less than you deserve. And above all, you have the right to be the protagonist of your life, not a spectator of someone else's choices. So from now on, every time he takes a while to respond, don't ask, "What's wrong with me?" Ask, "What does this say about him?" Every time silence strikes, remember the two secrets: power and fear. And with that clarity, choose how to react. You can't control what he does, but you can control what you accept. And that's where your true strength lies. If this video made sense to you, if it opened your eyes to see beyond the obvious, keep this lesson in mind. The delay in responding is not about you, it's about him. And your reaction is what determines whether this behavior will continue or not. Don't wait any longer. Don't accept less. Choose to be the owner of your peace, your confidence, and your value. Because in the end, the most important message is not on his cell phone. It's inside you.